Hi, everybody. Welcome to all gentlemen, ladies, and gentle beings of all persuasion. Welcome to the show tonight. It gives me a great pleasure, and I feel it's a great honor because he is somebody who does I've watched quite a few of his videos, and he is somebody who does a lot of stuff and collects a lot of stuff that is close to my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, and gentle beings, please welcome to the show, Kevin, also known as Doc's Comics. Kevin, how are you tonight?
I'm well, Matt. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure. I watch your channel all the time too. We do have a lot of mutual agreeable stuff for sure. So it's a nice, it's a natural mesh, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking right now and I see the Justice League right in the back. And that's the one with the, if I remember, the magic mirror, the funhouse mirror.
That's correct. Yeah, number
Yeah,
7.
Yes, I could see that just from the, I see the, it's larger Wonder Woman. That must be the, big headed Flash and all that other stuff.
And I'm still kind of a DC novice compared to you. I mean, I'm at the point where there's not a lot of Marvel left for me to get that I can afford. And so I'm moving my way into DC slowly but surely.
That's wonderful. And I'm not just saying that because it's DC coming into DC. The fact is, like, obviously you like Marvel too. Sorry, I got some moth flying around here I'm trying to catch. But anyway, it's great that you have it. Like I watch your show and I see that here's a pickup of the week, and you're just like, this is this, and you seem to have knowledge about what you're showing. You're sitting there saying, and this is because of that. I like that. I mean, I love channels that just show the books and go, look, isn't this cool? But I also like when they talk a little bit about the books as they show them. And that was one thing that caught my eye when I first watched you. So this brings me to my first question. What was it that made little Kevin get into comic books?
Sure. So I grew up a military kid. So my dad was a career Air Force, just lost him a couple of months ago. So my earliest memories are growing up on a military base, and my dad would take me to the Stars and Stripes bookstore, which is essentially the bookstore that they had on military posts domestically and abroad. And at the time, comics were 25 cents, giving away my age a little bit here. And he would give me $1, and I would go into the Stars and Stripes bookstore where he was shopping for other things, and I would get 4 comics for $1. No sales tax on military bases, so you didn't have to worry about that extra nickel or whatever it was. And unlike you, it was really I was a Marvel zombie first, and so it was a lot of the Marvel stuff that really drew me in. And it probably makes a good segue. I know you're going to ask me about sort of the first comic that I own, so this is probably a good time to show it as much as anything.
Wonderful.
Now, to be fair,
probably very big, real quick, so we can see. I'll see that.
Probably, I probably had like Archie or Richie Rich or something like that when I was really little. But the first couple of books that I have a actual memory of buying at the Stars and Stripes bookstore, this is the first one. It's Marvel Team Up number 40, which is Spider-Man and the Sons of the Tiger. I don't know why I have such a vivid memory of this comic as a kid.
Because it's your first. No one forgets.
And Marvel Team Up was one of those books that was really perfect entry level for younger readers because most of the stories were standalone. It was Spider-Man that everybody loved. And so you could read one issue and not have to worry about it continuing into another one. And then the other one right about at the same time that I remember is this one. It's Iron Man number 80 with a very nice Jack Kirby cover flying straight at me. And I've been an Iron Man fan pretty much since I was 6 years old when this came out.
Very, very cool. So this leads to my next question. Who are your favorite characters? And like, if you have a choice, like if you're not finished yet, like who do you go for first when you go?
Well, I'm going to go off point a little bit. This might throw a curveball at you, but and I didn't bring any in my stack, but my favorite comic book of all time is Usagi Yojimbo. I don't know if you've ever read Usagi Yojimbo or not. It's been around.
I've only read like 1 or 2, but I know who it is. Yes.
It's only been around for 40 years or so. It's been pretty much a single creator the whole time, Fantagraphics, and he went to Mirage and then Dark Horse and then IDW, and now he's back at Dark Horse again. But that book's been going for so long. It's historically accurate. The characters, you vest yourself in the characters, and he hasn't lost a step. So that's really important to me. Talking more about superheroes, the era to me, and you'll see some of these as I show you my stack later, that is my favorite is between like 1979 and about 1982, 1983.
Mhm.
And there were so many just amazing creative teams on all of the books, Marvel and DC at the time. I
Yes,
mean,
I will agree. I will agree that for me, that was the prime time, like when I got to know who the
yeah.
artists were.
I mean, you've got the John Romita Jr. and Bob Layton on Iron Man, which of course drew me in very, very early. You had John Byrne on Fantastic Four. You had Miller starting on Daredevil. You had Simonson just getting ready to start on Thor. You had George Perez all over the place, New Teen Titans, among other things. I mean, just that era is the one that's really burned itself in my brain the strongest. And I have a very sweet nostalgia for that era. So a lot of the stuff that came out right around that 1980 era
Mhm.
is really in my wheelhouse.
I would agree because I started buying Fantastic Four when John Byrne was on the book, and it hooked me. And then when he did Alpha Flight as well, I was really, that became my second big Marvel book. That and then the Avengers. He didn't do the Avengers, but it made me happy when Byrne took over. When Superman, they rebooted him after Crisis,
Oh yeah.
that John Byrne was the guy that handled that. That made me happy because he was somebody I knew and someone I liked, and I was very happy with that. Okay, before we get anywhere too much further, let's say hi to the Nefarious Comics chat. Nefarious Comics chat. Dun, 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 dun. I haven't got to a key card yet. But anyways, first in tonight is Lewis, Second Floor Comics, who says it's a bit sad how much fun we make of being first or second. No, we have nothing better to do than be, Lewis, I would say otherwise. Although K Munin claims to be first. Hi, K Munin. It's good to see you too. And Doc's Comics is in the chat. Hi, Doc.
I was lingering around before the show started a little bit. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And we got some conversation going on between the three of you here. And then we've got Tan. Hi, Tan. Good to see you. You don't need a cravat to hang out here. No one's going to see you right there unless you want a link or something. But, no one's going to see you. But it's nice that you think you need one. And let's see. We've got Not Near Mint. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. This is
Hello, old bean.
Doc's Comic. Mark is here from Mark's Issues with Archie. Good to see you, Mark. And we've got Jeff Jack at Four Color Flophouse. Jeff, I've just recorded that member requested video you made. It's going to air soon. Rich is here from Big Nasty Comics. Great to see you. And the absolute wonderful, my brother from another mother, Mr. Robbie Josephs. How are you? And Nate is here. Hi, Nate. Hanging out before he's getting ready. Make sure you check in with Nate at 8 o'clock on his channel for his fun show. Maybe we'll get Johnny bashing a DC Silver Age again tonight.
Ooh.
My favorite part of the show, to be honest. And let's see, a lot of conversation going on tonight. Brian LCS is here. Don't forget, if you haven't made your nominations for the comic book community awards, check it out at cbcawards.com, not org. They've changed it. And make yourself your picks. Nominate your favorites. All the way from Denmark, Mr. Core. Good to see you. Mike Dennis is here. How are you? Mark Marshall is here. Always good to see you, Mark. And Comic Mike is here. Comic Mike will be on with TM Nerdy and I this Sunday for the Sunday Superhero Show, 9 p.m. Eastern. Lyle is all the way from British Columbia. Welcome, Lyle. Dope is here. Great to see you, brother. I'm going to watch your video after I'm done, your newest one.
You have such a good memory that you can remember everyone's name and stuff. I'm getting old. I can't do that anymore.
Doug, the comic collector coach, is here. Great to see you, Doug. A lot of these people have actually been on, so I remember them from that. And it seems like Adam is here from Up and Adam Comics. We ran into Doc at Heroes. Nice. And that's everybody in the chat at the moment. As they pop in, I'll put their names up and, show, to acknowledge that they're here. And if you've got any questions, of course, chat, please chime in. At this point, Kevin, I'm going to make you big, and you're on the clock, as they say.
You're ready for books already? Okay. Well,
I'm always ready for books.
So this was really hard for me because
hi, Turtwig. Sorry.
This is really hard for me because picking my favorite 15 or 20 out of my stacks is requires a lot of thought process, but I broke it down, and really what makes a book special to me, there's one of two categories. One I already touched on a little bit already, and that's nostalgia. I mean, there's some books that when I see them, when I look at them, when I read them again, they just bring back all these nostalgic memories from when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, etc. And then the other category that I ended up using to pull a stack is books that genuinely made me happy when I finally got them. You giggle like a school kid. Woohoo! I got it. So I'm going to start with the nostalgia books first, if that's all right.
Those books that giggle like a school kid once, those are the best.
That's right. And Matt, we already mentioned this one. Matt, hopefully will appreciate it. Of course, New Teen Titans #1 came out in 1980. So I was 10 years old at the time. I remember this book popping up on the spinner rack. It was DC's answer to the Uncanny X-Men, which was so popular at the time. And George Perez is one of my favorites. He will always be one of my favorites. And this is some of his most exemplary work, of course, with Marv Wolfman helping him out on the script. So Teen Titans #1 definitely brings back fond memories for me.
Yeah, it always made me feel weird when I was a kid, because it's not the first appearance, but my friends and I treated it like it was the first appearance ever. So like we all were trying to get a copy of that, which became a $20 book fast. And in $20 in the 1980s was hard to get together when you're, in my case, I would have been 9 or 10 in 1980. And
I suspect a lot of us never saw the DC Comics Presents that had their first appearance.
Exactly. I didn't learn about that for a couple of years. So that's exactly it.
All right. Another book that brings a lot of nostalgia to me, and I might argue that this is one of my favorite covers of all time, even though I don't see this one on a lot of people's list. But it's, speaking of George Perez, it's Avengers #181. This is right in the middle of that era where George Perez and then John Byrne are doing the Avengers. It has so many characters on the front cover. I mean, George Perez is the king of team books, as most of y'all know. And it's just an amazing book where they finish off the Korvac saga, where everybody and their uncle was a part of that fight against Korvac. And then Guy Ritchie shows up and they have to whittle the Avengers down to just 7. And so that was a very striking book for this 1978 for an 8-year-old at the time. Here's another one that people of a certain age will recall. And this one is very nostalgic for me because along with Alpha Flight
just a point on the Avengers one you brought up. That was one of the storylines that got me hooked on the Avengers when I read it later. Like one of my friends had all the books to that storyline because his brother had them, and we were flipping through them, and like I got hooked on that. That made me an Avengers fan, that storyline.
Yeah, and I remember as a kid, I owned issue 177, which is sort of the climax of the whole Korvac saga, and everybody gets killed theoretically in that issue, right? And there's a big cliffhanger at the end, and and it took me like a long time to get the next issue 178 that finally answered all the questions. No, they weren't dead, or they were brought back. They were seriously injured. That sort of thing. So a lot of relief for a 10-year-old who takes this stuff very, very seriously, So yeah, this next one, along with Alpha Flight #1, which Matt already mentioned. I mean, this and Alpha Flight #1 are two books that I remember as a tween that were like really hyped up, that everybody was excited about coming out. And it's the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill in Thor #337. This is another book that brings out a lot of nostalgia for me. I got this at an actual comic book store that opened up where I was living at the time. That was unheard of. I had to ride my bicycle to the drugstore really prior to this, but a real live comic book store opened up where I was living, and I got this book there. And this Walt Simonson, I mean, enough said about him. I mean, he's just an incredible creator. And this cover,
He
I
really
love
is.
covers, by the way, that mess up the trade dress on the top. I try to work on collecting those as much as I can. And this book was just exceptionally impressionable to a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old when this came out. This is 83.
That was another one that when we heard about it, like one guy got a copy, and then we were going nuts trying to find one at the newsstands because they were gone.
Yeah, and I never really encountered that kind of fervor for a particular issue until that one and Alpha Flight, for sure. All right, I'm going to get really nostalgic and kind of sappy here for the next two, because these both are fond memories of my now wife, when we and I were first dating, and she discovered in college that I was a comic book fan, to my horror. Well, fortunately for me, she is tolerant of the hobby and has been for a long time. But she got this for me as a gift when I was in college, and I still have it. It's the Tales of Suspense number 48.
Oh,
Which is
nice.
the first appearance of the red and gold armor, and it has art by Steve Ditko. So I will. This would probably be the last book that I would take if I was forced to abandon my collection. This would be the one that I probably would keep with me. It's that nostalgic and that sentimental to me.
I completely understand. I just this Father's Day, I got a couple of Supergirl slabs from my wife and kids for Father's Day, and they're never going to leave my collection.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it great to have a family who's cool with your hobby? And I always joke, hey, at least I'm not doing drugs or something like that. It's probably just as expensive, but
that's one thing my wife tells other people is like, one thing of the best thing about being married to a nerd is, he's not what he's not going out and doing. She's not wrong.
I'm not betting on the ponies. I'm not going out to the clubs.
Not drinking away, not going to the clubs, not smoking it away. Like it's
And then the other one, this one is related to that. This is probably a year later, and she and I purchased this book together. I mean, I purchased it, but she was with me, and I was a struggling poor college student at the time. We all know, well, a lot of us know how that is. And at the time, this was the most money I'd ever spent on a comic. It was $90 in 1992 or so, which was a fortune for me at the time. But
wow.
The cover is so iconic, and I'm such a big Iron Man fan at the time, still am, of course, that I counted my pennies, saved it all up, and managed to buy this book. And it's still in my collection. I haven't gotten rid of it or upgraded it or anything like that. So it's another book that's very, very sappily sentimental to me.
So is Iron Man your fave?
Growing up, for sure. I mean, there have been some eras, of course, of Iron Man where it's been less than ideal, and I don't really read it now. I mean, honestly, I don't read a ton of new comics anymore. Very little from Marvel and DC, to be perfectly honest. But he's that character that kind of got me hooked, and so I do have a soft spot for Tony Stark and Pepper Potts and all of his cheesy villain pantheon.
I always preferred Bethany Cave over Pepper Potts. Bethany Cabe, over Pepper Potts.
Now, I prefer Madame Mask. I kind of like having the villain involved in the whole thing more than Bethany Cabe. I don't even know what happened to her. She just sort of disappeared from the comics at some point.
Yeah, I know.
All right. I've got one last nostalgic book, and this is probably the newest one, and I think Matt will enjoy this one as well. This is another book that just makes my heart palpitate, and it's Mad Love.
Oh,
Batman,
yes.
Batman animated. I love, I'm not a huge Batman fan, but I love the animated version. I love the cartoon as a 20-something. I loved Batman Adventures comic when it came out. That was sort of the type of Batman and Bruce Wayne and the bad guys that I really, really like the most. And this is Bruce Timm, who's one of my favorite artists of all time at his best. And this story is so good. So good.
I can't see that Harley Quinn without hearing Arlene Sorkin's voice.
Exactly. With that thick kind of New England accent, Brooklyn accent. Yeah. Come on, Joker. I can't do it any justice.
Hello, Mr. J.
Mr. J. That's right.
That's true. I saw that they got a facsimile.
Yeah, and if you need to interrupt me and catch up on the comments or anything, by all means, let me know.
Oh, no, I sort of pop them on as they go.
Okay, now I'm going to get into books that, as I hinted at earlier, make me giggle. and are ones that I was just genuinely excited to finally get. And I'm going to kind of go down the list here, and I will start. I got some DC in here for you too, Matt. I'll start with this one. It's Justice League number 21. When I
A
first
beautiful, beautiful book.
Yeah, when I first got this one, the Crisis on Earth one, I was so happy. But this is one of those. I mean, early JLA are kind of elusive, and if you follow my channel at all, you know I'm kind of a condition snob, and so I want to try to get my books in as high a grade as possible. And not only with this, but lots of early Silver Age DC are just so hard to find in decent shape. And when you do find one that you've been looking for a long time in a condition that is acceptable at a price that is not crazy, it really gets you happy. And so when I found this book, and I got it at like a 8.5. So very, very happy to get this book and add it to my JLA collection. And I'm making doing a lot of damage to Justice League. So I'm happy with that.
I honestly think when you talk about condition, I think it was about 1966 that people finally realized that to start collecting books and keeping them in this slightly better shape as much as possible. Because 1966 seems to be around when books for DC and Marvel tend to be in better shape. They're also, and there tend to be more copies available because more people were saving them, I think, at that point, as opposed to even 1964, 63. Because to find Batman 327, which is a 1964 book, is very hard to find in a grade higher than 6.
Oh, I believe it. I'm working on a lot of Showcase and Brave and the Bold right now, and I'm having the same kind of issues with and maybe it has something to do. I'm just going to throw this out here because I just thought of it. Maybe it's in line with the 1966 Batman TV show, and the Marvel cartoons were starting to come out around that period of time. And so maybe people started realizing that, hey, this isn't just something that to read and toss. Maybe there is a niche for this. I don't know.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Also, the Go-Go Check era, which was 66 to 67 for DC, right? Was a very popular era even now for people to collect. There's a lot of people that try to put together Go-Go Check runs. Like
I love the Go-Go Checks.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
Okay, Moonin, I'm probably competing with you on various sites then. All right, another book that I was so pleased to finally get, Captain America number 100, classic Jack Kirby cover, of course. This is after Tales of Suspense ends and Iron Man spins off into his own title. Captain America continues the numeration with issue number 100, and the first 10 issues or so of Captain America that Kirby does is some of his finest work. I think I would put it right up there with his Fantastic Four era.
I love that cover for 109 so much.
The 109 cover?
Yeah.
Here's another. I just got this at Heroes Con in 2025, and this one is one I had been looking for quite a long time. Brave and the Bold number 54, first appearance of the Teen Titans, even though they technically don't call them the Teen Titans at the beginning, and we don't have Wonder Girl yet. That shows up Showcase number, help me out, Matt, Showcase 60, is that right?
It's Brave and the Bold 60.
Brave and the Bold 60. I see the cover. I always get some of those.
Yeah, no, it was Brave and the Bold was the first 2 issues. I don't think they were in Showcase.
There was a Teen Titans in Showcase, but it was a little later. I think I got it back here somewhere.
It might have been in the 70s. Sorry. Maybe there was. You might be right.
Hang on.
I remember them.
Yeah, this one.
Okay, yeah, that's the third appearance, I believe.
Yeah, that's 59, the third appearance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted there. Anyway, yeah, I was so happy to find this at Heroes Con. Last year's show was kind of weird because I sold a bunch of comics on Whatnot for about 6 months. And what I decided, because I was doing some downsizing, I wanted to trim a few books, had some fat I wanted to cut. And so I decided whatever money I make on Whatnot over those 6 months, that I was going to take to Heroes Con and I was going to splurge and buy one big book. That's what I wanted. I made a list of the one big books that I was looking for, and I really didn't find any that I wanted. So what I ended up doing instead is that I got 3 still relatively big books, but I got 3 instead of 1. And this was one of them. Another one is in the stack here that I'll show you later, but the third one was the first appearance of Zatanna. So I got this, I got Hawkman 5, and then the third book. So I essentially sold 800 books and I got 3 back. but mission accomplished. I downsized.
Yeah, no, I wish I could. I just can't let go. I tried downsizing a couple of years back. I sold about
I really had to think hard about it, and I ended up trimming things that weren't very expensive, that I could replicate in trade form or digitally relatively easy, and things that didn't have a whole lot of sentimental attachment for me. And so once I trimmed that, I don't really have any regrets in that regard as a result. It's a very quality over quantity collection is sort of what I say mine is.
And I think it's wonderful. I have been upping the quality in terms of, I have bought in some better grades of some issues, and I've been buying bigger books. I'm a dollar bin diver, always have been. I just like to read them. So
oh yeah, that's great. And there's room for all of us, like you and I were talking about off camera. I mean, if you like expensive stuff, if you like higher grade stuff like I do, or if you like to dive in the dollar bins, I mean, it's good for all of us. Another book, I got this one at Heroes Con about 4 years ago. You can tell I like Heroes Con. If you are a comic book collector and comics is your primary motivating factor behind conventions, Heroes Con is the best place for sure.
Do you live close to
Conan #1 definitely made me very, very happy. I love
Yes.
Conan. I've always loved Conan. The new series by Titan is one of the few new books that I'm still reading. I mean, it really harkens back to the old days. And so
yeah,
I'm digging
I buy the Titan series as well.
Yeah, I'm digging it quite. I've seen you showing off your Savage Swords and a few others. I mean, it just reminds me of the old John Buscema stuff from the 70s. It's just so good. And
Conan, hands down, is my favorite Marvel title, period. But Son of Satan is my favorite Marvel character.
Son of Satan, that's you got to be one of the few people who fall into that category, I would think.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to get this. I have the first 100 issues of Conan. I haven't pursued it any further than that. Barry Smith, when he was still kind of finding his way, very Kirby-esque, some of this early stuff. But after about a year, he really does start to find his niche and develops that style that we all know him for the most.
We're just going to take a second to say thank you to Thomas O'Donnell for 10 gems. We're going to take a moment and we're going to give him a little bit of a video here.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
Because thank you very much, Thomas. I'm not sure what the 10 gems gold coin means, but thank you. So
I'm still learning this stuff too.
Yeah.
And I also would put this, this is obviously a conversation for another day, but a lot of people have the argument, hey, what in your opinion is the first comic that harkens the beginnings of the Bronze Age? And it's easy for the Golden Age, right? It's easy for the Silver Age. The Bronze Age gets a little more problematic, and you hear a lot of competing ideas about what the first Bronze Age book is. You hear the death of Gwen Stacy quite a bit. I mean, there's a bunch, but for me, there's two. I separate Marvel and DC in the Bronze Age, and to me, this is the first Bronze Age book for Marvel. So the next one I have is one that I equally get happy about every time I look at it. And this is the book that I would personally say marks the beginning of the Bronze Age for DC. And it's this one. Green Lantern, yes. Green Arrow, 76. Neil Adams really marks the beginnings of a lot of
great combination.
Yeah. So these are my Bronze Age babies here.
And you won't get an argument out of me about that. I feel the same when it comes to that. And a lot of people, and for years and years, Overstreet considered that as well. They said that it started for different companies at different times. And they considered, they went into deeper details. Like, for example, they gave one for Charlton. I don't remember what book it was. It was a long time ago since I read the story. But and then they gave one for, that they said that dealt with Dell never really entered the Bronze Age because they basically finished publishing in 69.
Right.
69, 70. There was a couple of issues in 70, but Dell was pretty much done. They lost all their TV licenses. The company went. Gold Key continued, but they never gave them a definite date. I would say for Gold Key, it would be when they went to 15 cents, because they went to 15 cents a little later than everybody else. So
right. Yeah, and that's what makes the discussion so fun. I mean, for DC, I hear people talk about Kirby coming and doing Fourth World and Jimmy Olsen, and that sort of marks the beginning of the Bronze Age for DC. But to me, this really makes it turns the direction of a lot of DC books, and it's sort of this era, this is 70, but it's sort of that 68 to 71 era in DC that is proving to be my favorite period. I thought DC did a lot of really cool avant-garde stuff during that period of time. I mean, everything from Secret Six to Angel and the Ape to Batlash to the Spectre, Plastic Man. I mean, these are so different from the usual fare that DC was putting out prior to that.
Creeper was canceled too fast. The Creeper would have been a great Bronze Age book, but the fact that it was canceled in 69 made it not possible.
Yeah, just 6 issues after the showcase. Yeah. I agree. There's a lot like that I think could I don't know if they could survive now, but they definitely could have survived in the Bronze Age. Yeah. All right, I've another one that makes me very happy to own, and when I got this book, I couldn't believe that I actually owned it finally, and it's X-Men number 94, and I'm going to go on record as saying that I like this book better than Giant Size X-Men 1. I don't know why. Maybe it's a continuity thing. Maybe it's the consecutive numbering thing. It's still a part of the X-Men series. But for some reason, this one has always carried more weight to me than Giant Size 1. And I'm old enough to remember when this book and Giant Size 1 were worth about the same amount of money. But over the last decade or so, Giant Size 1 is really the distance between this one and Giant Size 1 has increased.
I've always been curious because X-Men became a reprint title, and then 94 and Giant Size brought them back into the thing. And I've always been curious that how many issues they were given. That management editorial said, you've got, say, 8 issues to make it a sale, or we're going to cancel the title. I'm curious to that.
And I bet somebody has asked Chris Claremont that at some point, but I don't know the answer either. But I bet the rope was pretty short, if I had to guess.
Because I do know that when Carmine Infantino took over Batman with Detective Comics 327 in 64, he has said many times he was given 6 months to turn it around or Batman was being canceled. So.
Yeah, can you imagine that? It's hard to fathom these days.
Yeah, I know. But that's true. And Batman was almost canceled again in 1982. People don't realize the sales for the sales for Batman in 1981 and 82 were so bad that they honestly thought about taking him out of Detective Comics and completely and just canceling Batman, because it was getting to the point where the popularity had gone down so far again. Basically, Frank Miller's story saved Batman.
Oh, for sure. It definitely brought in that darker, grittier moment that everybody loves, which is carried really on to this day, but it did provide that rejuvenation for Batman that led to the movies and everything else. And the rest, as I say, is history. And now we have 25 Batman titles, something like that.
Something like that. At least 6.
I got one more that I will show you, and then I would be remiss if I didn't show you a few Westerns, right?
That would be awesome.
All right, so the last non-Western that I will show you that makes me smile and gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling in my tummy that I actually own this book is Hero for Hire #1. Just love this book. It's a black cover. Y'all know how hard it is to find black covers in decent shape, and there's just a lot of symbolism about this title that I appreciate, and that Luke Cage, Power Man, has endured for so long and evolved into the character that he is now. And so this is such a neat book to have, not only in my collection, but really in anybody's collection.
Very cool. I don't know, by the way, so I want to bring up a point just following what Jeff Jack says here. Would there be an Uncanny X-Men without the Legion? Storm was a character that Dave Cockrum created, and he brought it to DC to have her in the Legion of Superheroes. And they said, no, she won't fit in with her power, whatever. And so 2 months later, when Dave Cockrum left DC and went to Marvel and to work on the X-Men, he brought Storm with him. And that's how Storm ended up in the X-Men.
And, you know, Nightcrawler and Colossus kind of had that Legion look about them a little bit too, especially in the early days. So it makes you wonder.
Yeah, it's not, it wouldn't be surprising. Dave Cockrum was not happy to leave the Legion.
No,
he was, I don't know the full story. Maybe if I ever get a chance to talk to Mike Grell again, I'll ask him, because Mike Grell was the beneficiary. He ended up being the Legion, the penciler and the inker after that. But so maybe he knows a little bit behind it. That would be cool.
Yeah, what was that graphic novel that Cockrum did, the Futurians or something like that? That was sort of his extension of that afterwards. Something like
I don't remember it, but oh my God, we got to take a moment here to say thanks to Nate. So we're going to get. Thank you.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Gifted memberships. I really appreciate that. As people who watch the channel for, yes, I found a couple new videos. I just haven't had a chance to use them yet. So thank you all for tonight who've been very, very helpful. No, it's not Webster Lau. And Turtwig says, yes, it's the Futurians.
Futurians, yeah.
Yes.
And I one more plug about this. If you've never heard of Billy Graham, not the TV preacher, but the comic book artist, his work is exceptional. I mean, he did a lot in Jungle Action. He did a lot of these early issues of Luke Cage Hero for Hire. And I'm going to scare everyone in that Billy Graham is a lot like Jim Steranko in how he does his breakdowns and his layouts and his panel composition. And I personally think I like Billy Graham better than Steranko. Not that Steranko is bad, but I really, really, really like Billy Graham's art.
And that's okay. That's the best part about comics is always the debates. As long as we can stay civil, everything's great about it. Because there's always going to be somebody who says, well, Batman was more important than Superman. Yeah, well, so what? Batgirl was more important than whatever, like Wonder Woman. Like there's always people that say these sort of things. So
no one is more important than Matter Eater Lad, though, of course.
That is true. You got it. He eats everything.
All right. So if you watch any of my channel shows at all, you also know that I am a fan of Westerns, particularly Golden and Atomic Age and Silver Age Westerns. Atlas and Marvel in particular, although I am delving into a few other things. And so, of course, there are some Westerns that I have that make me very happy as well. And I'll show these last few here. The first one is this one. It's Rawhide Kid number 17. This is the relaunch of Rawhide Kid. Jack Kirby took over and did the art for the first few issues of the relaunch. For the first 16 issues, really Rawhide and Two Gun Kid and Kid Colt and a lot of the other main Western heroes that Marvel Atlas was doing at the time, they all kind of looked the same, acted the same. And so relaunching some of these books tried to give each of these characters a little more of their own individual personality. And this book is really, really hard to find. This is not in super high grade. It's about a VG, but VG is pretty good for these. The numbers of these compared to like Marvel books of roughly the similar era are their Westerns are just hard to find. They're scarce. It's like looking for war books or romance books. They just weren't published in quantities that the superhero books were at the time. And so finding a copy of this, even a VG one, makes me very, very happy. And then, of course, Two Gun Kid is the same way. This is the relaunch of Two Gun Kid. This is issue number 60. Came a couple of months after the relaunch of Rawhide. They made Two Gun Kid a masked character. Again, They all kind of look the same previously. And this is Jack Kirby doing the first few issues of Two Gun Kid as well. So this is a real milestone. If you're a Western collector of this era, both of these would be kind of minor grayish for you.
Cool. That's another thing, by the way, watching your videos that I found really cool, because there are not a lot of Western collectors anymore. Western used to be the thing. I mean, I knew old guys who go to the shows who only collected Western comics. Like,
and it's more of a curse than a blessing, in that because not a lot of people are collecting them anymore. It means dealers don't bring them to shows. But it also means that when they do turn up, the small number of Western collectors who are still out there, they fight fiercely to get their hands on these. And so the prices can really skyrocket in a bidding war or at cons or on eBay or anywhere else. So you have to have a lot of patience to collect Westerns for sure, particularly from the 60s and earlier.
Do you buy Jonah Hex? I'm just curious.
Not yet. I really haven't delved into DC Westerns yet, with a few exceptions. I've got Batlash, who I like quite a bit. And then I've got a few of the All-Star Westerns leading up to Jonah Hex. I don't have the first appearance of Jonah Hex yet. It's on my bucket list. It's probably the top book on my wish list. I was looking forward to Heroes Con this year, and I had no luck finding it at all.
Batlash had Nick Cardy going for it, so...
And Sergio Aragonis was writing it. A lot of people don't know that, the first few issues.
Really? I didn't know that. See?
Yeah.
I learned something
really.
tonight. Awesome.
Yeah, it was Sergio Aragonis and Nick Cardy who were doing that at the beginning. And then the next, the penultimate, if you will, book that I will show you is a Western Grail of mine personally. I told you about the Brave and the Bold 54 and the Hawkman versus Zatanna that I got at Heroes Con. The third book that I got in 2025 with all that free whatnot money was Kid Colt #1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is from like 1949. You're gonna catch me off guard here, catch myself off guard. But yeah, 1949, right around there. Kid Colt was a redhead for the first half dozen issues or so before they made him blonde. And unlike Rawhide Kid or Two Gun Kid, Kid Colt never really got a revamp like the other two did. So the character, he kind of remained that steady, constant character. So they kept him kind of the way he was while they changed everybody else around him. And this book is really hard to find, as you can imagine. And I got this in like a 7.0, so which is exceptionally high for this book. So I was embarrassed how happy I was to see it. I just randomly saw it on a wall from one of the dealers at Heroes Con. So it was really, really exciting to get that.
Yeah, I love having targets of opportunity like that, just where things you can buy something like it's been a while since I've had one. I've been active. Part of it's because I've been actively looking for 3 books that are on my top 10 list for the year, and I keep having problems finding them. And when I get into auctions with them, I end up losing them, or they go too high for that I can afford at the moment. Like that seems to just be my luck right now. And
it takes a lot of discipline. I mean, you got to decide that number and stick to it. You really do. And I don't know what 3 books are. Do you want to share what 3 are on your list?
Well, I'm looking for Superboy 98, Action Comics 276, and they're all Legion-based books, and Adventure Comics 293.
I can imagine those are tough.
Yeah. That's the first Legion. Adventure 293 is the first Super Pets. Action 276 is the first appearance of like 6 members of the Legion, including Brainiac 5. That kind of thing. And Superboy 98 is the first Ultra Boy. So,
and when you how do I want to say this? Well, when your list is so particular, like mine is, and like parts of yours are, you don't expect to see a lot of the stuff that is on your list at a con or on eBay. You just don't expect it. And so when one does stumble there, when you do see it, you have to do a double take. You can't believe they actually have a Kid Colt 1 on the wall at this booth. I must buy it if it's in a good shape.
Yeah, like I had a purchase of opportunity at the last show I went to. Lau Tor, who if he's still in the chat, he can tell you the same thing. Like I was actively looking for X-Men 130 first appearance of Dazzler. and I'd seen a copy here locally, but they wanted too much money for it for what the grade was. Well, I got I got a copy for a lot less and the same grade as the one I was looking at, and like it was there. It's like, oh, I got to get this. Luckily, it was at my friend Nefarious Comics, so I was able to get a pretty good deal on the book. And as I said, it was an opportunity. I dropped it and I bought the first Dazzler. So
yeah, and so you always have a little bit of a reserve fund just in
yeah,
case you do find that purchase of opportunity.
that's exactly what I do. Yes.
I got one more if you want to see it.
Awesome. Yes, I do.
And this is a new acquisition, and this is another one that was just a pipe dream for me. I never thought I would see one in decent shape. I had a little money squirreled away for, kind of that opportunity fund, just in case something you never see does pop up. And so this is one of my favorite covers of all time. It's a cover that not a lot of people probably have seen or heard about. And I know there's a lot of EC fans out there, a lot of people who love EC horror and EC science fiction. But a lot of people don't know that EC did do some Westerns as well. Not a bunch, but they did do a couple. And when I saw this, I had to have it. It's Saddle Justice #5. With a cover by Graham Ingalls, which to me is absolutely breathtaking. How good this cover is.
I've heard of that title, but I don't think I've ever seen one before. Very cool.
There's only 6 issues. It's 3 through 8. Starts at 3 and goes to 8. And Graham Ingalls, who did this cover, he did 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is the first cover that he did. And you get a lot of early stuff by Johnny Craig. So Johnny Craig did a lot of art in Saddle Justice. Graham Ingalls, of course, did as well. There's some Art Feldstein did art in Saddle Justice. And whereas a lot of the Marvel and even the DC to a lesser extent, a lot of those Westerns from that era are very white hat, black hat, you know what I mean? Given that this is done by EC, it's a lot grayer and it's a little darker and it's a lot more rustic and realistic, for lack of a better term. So it definitely reads a lot different from those Roy Rogers style Westerns that were coming out from other publishers at the time. This is the only Saddle Justice I have. And now I'm going to try hard to try to find the other ones.
Yeah, so you talk about that. I like literally the only Western books I have is All Star. I've got about 5 issues of All Star Western with Jonah Hex and 1 issue of Roy Rogers. So, and I see the difference completely. Rogers is just so,
Yeah, I mean, Dell has a ton of Westerns, but all TV, a lot of TV stuff, Gunsmoke and Roy Rogers. Yeah.
But the thing is, they're fun. And to be honest, those shows were made more for children, and those comic books followed the theme because Roy Rogers, of course, put his foot down. The same with Gene Autry and Dale Evans, where if you're going to do a comic book about me, it really has to be family friendly and it has to be, kids. It's got to be for the kids. So
and understandable too.
Yeah, and that the thing is, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, by all accounts that I've ever read, were genuinely nice people. And people you would want your kids to look up to, basically from that point of view. Very charitable, very. They adopted a lot of children, I believe, right? And
I don't know, honestly.
They had a small family of adopted kids. I knew they couldn't have kids, so they adopted a bunch. But anyway, thank you very much for coming, Kevin. Just before we go, one more quick question.
Sure.
What do you see yourself doing the collecting in the future? Like any specific runs that if you finished, you would like to go after, for example?
I did a video on this not too long ago that hasn't come out yet. And I'm getting close to the point where I sense a roadblock unless I do something else. And so with Marvel, I collected Marvel at first, and I'm to the point with most of the Marvel titles that I'm interested in anyway, that I've got almost everything that I can afford. I mean, I don't have an Avengers 1 or Tales of Suspense or First 10 Fantastic Fours, those kinds of things. So as far as the stuff I can't afford, I'm about there. And so that's what turned me over to DC, and I picked about 12 DC titles that I wanted to work on, not from beginning to end, but certain eras that were the most interesting to me. Although I am working on some small ones like Hawkman and Metamorpho and a few others like that. And I'm starting to get to the point on my DCs where it's getting more expensive as well. I was like, if I want to get that next issue of Brave and the Bold, it's going to be $300.
Yeah, but the thing is, generally speaking, at least DC Silver is still a little is still less than Marvel Silver because the demand isn't as big.
It is, but the supply is less. So it's
actually the supply. What I've discovered is most dealers will tell me when I'm looking at shows, will tell me I didn't bring it because it doesn't sell at shows, but I got tons of Silver Age DC. Give me a list.
That's funny.
Yeah, like they just, it's because they're discovering now that maybe they should start bringing some more, because characters like, as you said, Metamorpho or books like the Inferior 5 and all that other stuff are actually selling. The late Silver Age stuff from 67, like the avant-garde stuff, is actually picking up, and Showcase and Brave and the Bold have always been big. So
I'm either going to have to expand my horizons, or I'm going to have to become what's called kind of an opportunity buyer. And I'm sort of stealing this term from RAS Retro Comics, in that because I'm such a condition snob, instead of working on runs, if I see a pretty book that I like that's in nice shape, I just kind of start collecting that way. So I've got a lot of soul searching to do on sort of what's next for me.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kevin. I had a real good time tonight. This was a lot of fun.
My pleasure. I appreciate you invite me on. It was a lot of fun.
The books that you showed are exactly what I sort of expected from you from watching the videos. And if you're not subscribed to to Kevin Docs Comics, you should be. Are you at 1,000 yet, or you're close?
I'm at almost 1,250.
1,250. Okay, so yes, I believe when I started watching you weren't at 1,000 yet. Because I think I pointed out to you that you'd hit. I think I was the one that commented you got 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, you might very well have been. And I want to say this to you.
Sorry,
I want to say this to you, Matt, before we go. I mentioned this off camera, but I want to tell your viewers, so there's a public record of this. I really appreciate your channel and what you do. Not only are we relatively congruent in a lot of the things that we collect, but also you are such a positive voice on YouTube Comics Network. You keep it positive, you keep it happy. There's a true joy in what you are doing on your channel. You can see the happiness and the excitement that you exude every one of your shows. And so I really appreciate you doing what you do on your channel.
And I appreciate the kind words. Thank you very much. For those that are paying attention, we are just over 50 subscribers away from hitting that 1,000 mark, which I am talking about only because I want to have that big party. And yes, Lau, I may have pizza that night. But we'll see what happens. But I have managed to get a fourth artist to give a prize, give away a commission for. So we are looking at 8 prizes when we're all done. And I did say I would talk slightly about it tonight, but I'm going to take a moment and talk about it on the Sunday Superman show instead. So everybody join us on Sunday. We'll talk about what the prizes you could win once we get there. And I will mention the 4 artists, and we'll go from there. And also there will be my comic shop gift cards and a nice big stack of comics that includes a Lois Lane Herco. So I'm looking forward to that myself. Thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. If you're not doing anything, go check out Nate over on Hall Yeah Comics. A lot of the guys who were in the chat tonight are there on the screen. Thank you all for coming tonight. My name's Matt. I like comics, and I hope you do too. Bye, everybody.